Hey everybody, your website is one of the most valuable assets you have for your restoration business, whether you know it or not. Now, that is even more so true if you've spent a ton of money and time marketing that website to get yourself to the top of the search engines, or bounce around from agency to agency, redesigning and redesigning and redesigning that website. Either way, you've spent a ton of money and time on your website. So today, I'm going to talk to you about how to protect that website against hackers. Now, hacking and web security is a very hot topic these days, whether it's the ransomware attacks that take down big giant pipelines, or just simply somebody getting into your website and taking it down. If you're collecting credit card information or client information on your website too, security is a very big deal because you're ultimately responsible for how that stuff is handled. So today, I'm going to walk you through a few different ways that you can protect yourself from those hackers that are knocking on the back door to your website every single day, whether you know it or not. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to show you the back end of our Ironclad Restoration Marketing website, which was built on WordPress. WordPress, in my opinion, is the best content management system for service-based companies like restoration companies. One, it's very user-friendly, and two, it's very search engine friendly. I went over a little bit more detail about that in a webinar I did last year and a couple social posts recently. So if you want to check those out and get a little more insight as to why we use WordPress, go right ahead. Check out our website, check out our YouTube, all that information is out there. So we're going to pretend that you have a WordPress website. So the first thing that you need to make sure you're doing is making sure that your site is updated. The plugins that you use, the infrastructure, the content management system, all of those things, whoever developed them, release updates. If they're legitimate plugins and infrastructure, they release updates all the time. Some of them are patching security holes, and some of them are just fixing glitches in the plugins. Either way, you have to make sure that those things are up to date. I can't tell you how many websites that we've taken over that have been hacked because they had either an old, outdated plugin, or they had a plugin they might have bootlegged from somewhere that you normally have to pay for. That's one of the first things hackers do. They sniff around the internet, they find these security exploits, and bam, they're in your website, either putting malware on there, or they're just taking your website down for shits and giggles. So make sure that either yourself or you're paying an agency to constantly monitor and update your back end of your website, all your plugins, your content management system. That's square one. The next thing that you can do, and you have to make sure you're doing this if you're a DIY person and you're going to make all these updates yourself, the second thing that you need to make sure you're doing is backing up your website. Now, you can back up your website with plugins. We use WordPress Clone. We use a few different ones. At the end of the day, you just want to redundantly be backing up your website because if somebody does take your website down, it's very easy to get it back up if you have an update or have a backup of that website. So, you know, WP Clone is great. Most of these things are free. You shouldn't have to pay for a backup solution. Just back up your website, download it onto your computer. Make sure you're always keeping a downloaded version of your backup. Your backups that are stored on your back end of your WordPress site are going to do you no good if somebody takes down your website. There's a second level to this through your hosting provider. We do both. So for all of our clients, we recommend a very high-end hosting company. It's better than GoDaddy, better than HostGator. They're SEO optimized. They're built to perform and help you get those search engine results that you should be getting for your restoration business. And that hosting company actually does their own backups of our websites on a hosting level. So if we ever had any issues, actually our site got taken down about 3 weeks ago, and because of all the different things that we have in place for backup solutions, we were able to get our website back up in about 10 minutes. So we lost nothing. Most people didn't even know our site was down. But it does happen. I mean, if you look at some of the monitoring tools, it happens thousands of times a day from all over the world. Now, there's some bigger plugins that you can use for security. We use one, Limit Login Attempts. This is kind of the minimal that we would use. Because we're in this site every day, multiple times a day, we're able to monitor this a little bit closely. But Limit Login Attempts is going to make sure that anybody that tries to log into your website and doesn't really have the right password, or maybe they're trying to guess something to get in there, it's going to boot them, it's going to block their IP, and it's going to make sure that your site is protected. Another really easy thing that you can do within that, speaking of which, is making sure you're updating your passwords all the time. So I know a lot of restoration companies out there have hired multiple agencies, and one thing I see quite a bit is that they're not updating their usernames and passwords when they move from one agency to the next. So make sure that you go in, you update your passwords. We do it here on a monthly basis, depending on the client. And if it's for us, we definitely do it quite a bit. So we have a lot of different people that are working inside our websites. Those are just a couple things that you can do. Also with the backups, when you are updating plugins, back to the DIY, if you're updating your plugins, sometimes you can have conflicts between the plugins. So if you're updating all these plugins and the new update of the plugin is conflicting with another plugin, your site's not going to function properly. So by having those updates there, you're able to troubleshoot and get that update back up there to figure out which plugin is causing the conflict and make sure that you're doing things right. So there's another security plugin that we use on a few of our clients, depending on who they are. WordFence is a great one. You can block IPs regionally. You can set up really strict parameters, but that's like a next level type of security. You can experience some problems with WordFence. In fact, you could probably block yourself from WordFence. Let's say you forgot your password. It really stinks to get locked out of your own website. So make sure that you're updating your plugins, you're updating your website on a redundant basis. Make sure you're changing passwords and updating users when you move from agency to agency. Make sure you're backing up your website on a WordPress installation. And if you can do it, if your hosting company allows, back it up on your hosting side. Make sure you're using security plugins, and just make sure you have your fingers on the pulse of what's happening with your website, because the last thing you want is to lose that website and lose all that precious money and time you've spent on it, and you're back to making sure that you can concentrate on things that matter the most, like getting more jobs and keeping those clients happy so you can get more repeat work. My name is Ben with Ironclad Restoration Marketing, and I help restoration business owners get more sales by getting their internet marketing right. We'll talk to you soon.